right now I'm going to define that I need a MySQL port for my PHPUnit. And that SQL is going to be, or that environment variable is going to be this. So I got this database URL. As you know what? Let's not make that yet. I need I need Doctrine first. Sorry. If I implement Doctrine, I will actually have it. So Doctrine bundle. Sure, packages. I need the packages. There we go. Repo composer required packages. There you go. Blah blah blah. Oh, oops, crap. There we go. The Doctrine ORM package is required when the Doctrine ORM config is set. I am so sorry. -ORM. Did I make a typo? I guess I made a typo. Yeah. Okay. So it's this. There we go. I'm also going to install something that's called the migrations bundle, because Doctrine comes with a migrations bundle, which makes it easy to actually update and put versioning on a database, which is very important. Also, everything in Composer is not like Symfony. You don't need Symfony to use Composer. So if you use Java or a different PHP framework, you can use Composer. Just the bundles are for PHP. I mean Symfony. The bundles are the bridges for Symfony, but the packages themselves are agnostic. Work. Oh no, wait, hang on. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry for the hard and loud noises when my enter key is messing up stuff. All right, so that's that. We got Doctrine, we got Doctrine migrations, and we got Doctrine ORM. As you will see within here now, we got a lot of new configuration files. As you will see, we use PDO MySQL with version 5.7. And as database URL, we will get resolve the environment variable database URL, which we will need to set in a minute. So for this to work, for Doctrine to work, we need to have some sort of configuration as well. As you can see here, this is like the default settings, but the default settings are not the correct way. We do not use the default settings. So what we want to do is, I'm going to do a quick copy pasta of stuff that I already have, but you won't see a lot of changes, just some stuff. Database environment URL is like a fallback over here. Doctrine is still PDO MySQL 5.7. We use the UTF-8 MB4 char set. Normally we use UTF-8, but MB4 is the new one with smileys. So that's why we use that one. I'm not going to use the unique ID type yet. It's not demanded for us yet. Environment variable is the same. The difference here is that we're actually telling to go for app domain. Here we go. So we get like app domain. And I think, yeah, exactly. This is the prefix, right? Right. Am I right? I am right. I'm not right. I am not right. No, I have to put entity after here. And this is not what we're using. This is also not what we're using. This is infrastructure config ORM. Yes. Okay, so we go back to infrastructure. We actually make a folder here right now as well with named config, and we put the ORM info in here. The reason why we are putting our configuration for Doctrine inside this folder and the application serializer in this is because Doctrine is a third party and falls therefore in our infrastructure layer. It actually makes a connection to a third party client, and that's why you put the config in your infrastructure. Our serializer, on the other hand, is actually something that's used within the application itself. It's not something that connects to using a different protocol. It's some code that's being used within the application, so it falls within a different layer in our domain-driven design system. So that's the reason we put the serializer config inside the application, bounded the context, and the ORM configuration inside the infrastructure. So next up is configuring our Doctrine, and we do this by another XML file, which is, I have here an example for, which is nicer. So Doctrine, you can use Doctrine annotations, but it's bad practice because first of all, you code with annotations, and that's bad practice at all times because coding with annotations is just secondly, the most important part is it's actually hard coupling if you do that, because your entity is part of your domain layer, and your ORM XML annotations for Doctrine is not your domain. So if you use annotations for Doctrine to annotate your entities for Doctrine, you're actually hard coupling Doctrine to your domain, and that's bad practice. That's very bad practice, according to domain-driven design logic. So, for example, for your information, Ice Cream Man, what you can do is you can go here and you can say, for example, Doctrine. I don't know what it's called exactly, but you can actually define user ID is a let's say a string with like 993 characters long. It's a primary key. Whatever, you can basically do this within the entity, and you basically tell Doctrine that this entity it has this characters, this configuration through the annotation. And if you do that, you're basically dividing your code between your code and annotations, but you make your annotations important, and the annotations are never important. Annotations are actually, in my opinion, a bad practice at all. Because if you need comments to explain something, then you have written bad code. That's how it works, basically. Your documentation should be your tests, not your annotations. Annotations are bad practice. If the rule of thumb is very simple. If you need comments to explain your code, then you have badly written code, because every code should be self-explanatory. Every line of code you write should be self-explanatory. That's also why I prefer to use full words. Or like in this thing, my voice is a bit cracking, sorry. It saves a comment to the database as function name instead of saves comment. You really want to use meaningful words. It doesn't matter how long a variable name is, as long as it says what it's doing. That's the good practice here. Back to ORM configuration. We are going to create an XML file called comment.xml. So for this Doctrine, we use a Doctrine mapping, which is a standard. We have an entity. We have 3 fields in our entity. The rest is not really important yet. Our entity is called app/domain/comment. No, it's entity. comment out of my head. So domain entity comment, yes. And the repository class linked to this is actually the app infrastructure repository comment repository, which we made earlier on. We get an integer. Actually, I'm going to define an auto strategy for the primary key. So back to our ORM configuration. We got the integer here, which is an ID column. We have the user ID. We have the topic ID. And we have the comment itself. Oh, oops. String. The reason why we're using 191 characters is because of the UTF-8 MB4 char set. So UTF-8 has like 256 characters, I believe, which is a normal thing for varchar in SQL. However, if you use UTF-MB4, your maximum length is actually 191 for a varchar. So keep that in mind if you're planning to use UTF-8 MB4 as well in the future. Varchars have only 191 length. And it's because it's using the extra bytes to interpret the smileys and the Unicode smileys from your mobile phone, stuff like that. So that's how SQL solves that. So string, let's go, 191, and this is actually type text, and it's actually not nullable. Okay, so now we have the configuration for our entity complete. Now we need to tell Symfony that we're using Doctrine and this mapping. That it needs to look for the mapping for this class in this exact folder. I think I already did that, but I'm not sure. App. Kind of root there, yes. Infrastructure, which is this. Config ORM comment.xml. Prefix app domain entity, and our comment actually has that. App domain entity. Perfect. All right. So now that works. What we are going to do next is we are going to go back to our test. No, not to a test, to our repository itself. Sorry. Repository, not this one. This is so weird. The migrations bundle and the Doctrine bundle create a repository folder for you in the root folder. And it sucks because I haven't figured out a way to actually delete this without a lot of errors. So I'm just keeping this here for now, but I will try to figure that out later and come back to you for it. So we go to our write repository folder, command repository, and now we have this save function. I want this to have a I believe save and then $comment. So I want to inject in this repository, of course, a Doctrine implementation. So we're going to create a public function construct again, and then we say I think it's a Doctrine entity manager interface, but I'm looking it up for just to be sure that I'm not making that mistake. Oh, it extends actually. Yeah, it extends the entity repository. And this entity repository is actually a function from Doctrine. This is the reason why manager registry. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's actually the entity repository we're going to use because, yeah, we're using this only as a repository, not as a manager. We're going to actually use the manager from the repository. So this is the reason why this comment repository is in the infrastructure layer, because in this infrastructure layer, we are allowed to use third-party couplings. So we are going to be implementing. We're actually not implementing at all. Hang on. I made a mistake here. Because of the extends, we already have our functions here. So we only have to do this right here. And this em is actually the right thing. We just have to persist it and then flush it. For people who are not into Doctrine, persisting means getting an object ready in Doctrine. Basically, it's called persisting is called making it managed. So in Doctrine works with unmanaged and managed entities, and persisting actually makes this a managed entity. And flush basically says, okay, store it to the database. You can basically persist a couple of stuff, then it makes it ready. And then when you flush it, it makes one SQL query for all the changes, and then it pushes it right through. That's basically how you do it. It's called flush because flush the toilet and it goes away, all the shit. My voice is actually cracking a lot, so I'm drinking water, damn, like I'm in a desert. All right. So we got this repository here. It's using Doctrine. Doctrine has a database URL, which we need to define in our env file. This is a standard one. We're going to use a different one. We're going to use root with root. Since this is used from inside the Docker container, but our SQL database is also an other container, we can either do it directly with a link towards the other Docker container, or we could use a small little hack that I figured out myself, and that's we use the host.docker.internal. And what this does, it's actually getting your IP address from inside the Docker container. So the Docker container gets the host IP from your PC or Linux or Mac or whatever, and then you can actually use that to do the same port name. You use the same port as you use to connect to the database yourself. And since this host can change, it's better to use this DNS instead of an IP address itself. Makes it easier for you. Same counts for the database. We have a database called comments. We made that. This is a different one. This was not subliminal messaging, by the way. I actually downloaded that image like it's like 4 or 5 hours before the stream. So comments over here. This should work right now. And we need to actually define this as our thing in PHPUnit as well. So we have this PHPUnit. I want an env. Give me that. This is so that PHPUnit also knows where the database is. Host Docker internal 3307, and let's use comments. There we go. So let's see what it does when we run the tests now. The handler won't work, but this one should work. Class repository comment repository not found. Why not? Oh, because we haven't made a link to it. Okay. Good point. Let's check it out. What's next? Too few arguments to function entity repository construct. On line 19. New comment repository. Oh, this is funny because this comment repository actually expects two things right now. So I'm not going to use a new repository. I'm actually going to get this repository from our test environment. So let me make a services test YAML file. Services test YAML. So infrastructure and comments repository. And we are actually using our our real one. The reason why we are doing this is because the normal service is impossible to get through the normal services because it's not public. Defaults are actually public is false, but this we have public is true. And since this links to the real service, we actually can access it. However, we still need to define this service because this service doesn't exist yet. So we are going to back to our normal services, and we are going to register the real repository. Here we go. App infrastructure comment repository is of the class entity repository, obviously. Factory, this is just default, and arguments. This is really important because basically we're telling Doctrine that it's using a video argument. And comment. All right, I guess we'll use this for now. And let's see what it does. Obviously, the test fails because I haven't rerouted the test yet. So we're not going to do this. We are actually going to get the repository from the service container. So it's like this. This get container. Oh, whoops. Get contain. Come on, container. We have a small little issue because the service container isn't reachable from the test case. Basically, we need to use the web test case instead, though, for it, or a kernel test case. Maybe a kernel test case is better. Hang on. Kernel test case. Is that the correct one? I guess. I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, so my water is gone, so I need to hurry up. Let's get this over with. We're almost done though. So I got a syntax error. Obviously, I got a syntax error. Get container get, and I'm making a mistake here. It's not this. It's actually self boot kernel get, and then we get the test service that we registered. So test app. So it's domain repository comment repository app domain repository comment repository. Is that the same name as we defined? App. Oh wait, app infrastructure. I'm a moron. App infrastructure repository. Hang on, I need to, this is very important that I write this correctly. App infrastructure repository comment repository. App infrastructure repository comment repository. And it should over here be app infrastructure repository. Otherwise the linking goes wrong and it's not going to work at all. So we are here. App infrastructure. There we go. All right. So this should work now, I guess. Work. There we go. The configuration key test app infrastructure comment repository cannot define the default value. Blah 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 blah. All right. So I made a mistake, of course, in here. What is my mistake? I guess I need services on top of that. Oh, it's made this mistake. Test infrastructure repository. Damn it. Work. Service not found in Symfony. You requested a non-existent service. Test app infrastructure repository comment repository. Test app infrastructure. I'm so sorry. I missed the sorry. That C#. C# is awesome. No mapping found name comment.rm.xml. Oh, look at that. It's so beautiful that tests actually makes it so our test actually tells me what to do right now. My test tells me currently, dude, you fucked up your naming from comment.orm.xml because my file is actually named comment.xml and not comment.orm.xml. So, gotta change that. Refactor. Let's go. Perfect. Let's go. I don't care, actually. Oh my god, because this is because sudo is hang on. Don't do that. Just refactor it. All right. Go for it. Now, back to my test. Run. Okay, now what? So, top it ID. Look at that. This is why we use test-driven development, guys, because now the test actually tells me a bug in my actual code that I did not know about. So apparently, somewhere in my entity, I want to set top id ID instead of topic ID. So let me actually find top id, and it's actually within the comment rm, so it cannot find it, so it throws an error. So it's a good thing. Let's rerun the test. What's next? ID doesn't exist. That's a good point. We forgot to put that in our entity. So private ID. And now we get a very familiar exception for me. This means that it cannot actually connect to the database. Oh, wait, hang on. This is good. This is good. Actually, it works. That's good. It's weird, but okay, I don't care. my response here is okay, whatever, I don't care. As long as for the production it's a different URL anyway, so whatever works, it works. But it should have used the Docker internal URL instead. So I have no idea why it currently doesn't work, but whatever. Okay, so basically it says the table doesn't exist, and that's logical because we haven't made migrations yet to make those. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to, while we're in the Docker container anyway, over here, and my Docker container froze, so I'm actually going to close it now. Let's open up again. Wait, what? Did I stop that? That's weird. Should not have stopped that. Oh well, anyway. Alas, we're here over here right now, and we are going to do bin console doctrine migrations diff. Right now, what it's doing right now, it's actually looking for my entities in my configuration, so this one, and it generates a SQL, a file that it's, I'll take a look at it over here, with the changes. So up means if I want to migrate with these changes to the latest version, it will, from all the files that it has generated, it will do the up thing. If I want to go back to a previous state of the database, then it will use the down thing in the scheme to actually get there. So you can see one of the only change right now is that it wants to create a table called comment with this stuff. And the thing, if I do not want this migration anymore, then it will drop the table comment. And this is how versioning works within Doctrine. So using Doctrine migrations, you can actually easily make versionings of your database. Apart from the data, of course. If you drop a table with data in it, the data is gone. But speaking of table structures, then Doctrine migration is the way to go to add versioning to your application in Doctrine. So while we're at it, we actually need, after we do the migrations, we actually need to migrate. And now it will actually execute the migrations, as you can see. And if we go to Emma right now, you will see that our comments database actually has a comment database, a comment table with an ID, a user ID, a topic ID, and a comment. And that's what Doctrine did for us. So I didn't make this table. That's what Doctrine did, using this SQL in this migration file. And if we run the test right now, array does not match expected type integer on line 19. Array find all. Oh, hang on. Sorry. I think. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing right now. But I think this is it. The parameter class is expected to be a string or an object. Oh, this is hang on. Let me actually comment this out. I want to see if it works up until here. Fill asserting that 1 matches expected 0. See the difference, and then you see 1, 0. It's very cool. All right. So where is it? On line 19. So this assertions fails because I forgot something, which is called this load fixtures. And now we actually need a web test case. There we go. Load fixtures initializes an empty database for this test. This should work right now, I believe. Not yet. Hang on. What am I doing wrong? This load fixtures should actually work. We're so close, guys. If we got this, then we're good. The reason the test fails is because it already has something in the database. That's what it's saying, I guess. Or not. Hang on. Wait. Field asserting that 1 match expected 0. What's in the database? There should not be anything in the database. Table, info, where is it? There is it. Oh, there's actually one comment inside. Okay. But it didn't delete it. So yeah, we need that load fixtures thing. This load fixtures. Loading fixtures is actually the way to test for updates as well. With fixtures, you can actually load the database with items in it. So loading fixtures with an empty array means load an empty database for me. That's basically what it's doing. So what I don't understand is why it doesn't recognize that class, because load fixture should be a class. In the web test case. Call to undefined method, load fixtures. Am I being a moron? I must be a moron there. Well, I guess the test works in so far that if you delete this manually and you run the test, then I think it will actually work. Okay, so that's established. The thing is, if we run it again, it doesn't reload the database. So that's what load fixtures should fix for us. It should like initialize an empty database for us. I have no idea why this doesn't work. No, I'm sorry. I have no idea. I have to probably check this out after the stream. I have no idea. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, let me know. And I'll make sure to do some more programming streams if you guys like it. I'll make sure to fix this issue before streaming next, and then I'll tell you guys what my stupid oversight was in order to get these fixtures loaded. All right, see you guys later.